thanks for doing this with us. This was kind of an experiment, and you didn't know what was going to happen, right?
No,
not at all.
No.
We didn't prep you. In fact, we kind of tried to keep the whole thing secret.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun.
Before we started this, what were your impressions of lasers on guns?
I really didn't like them mainly because they impeded on my grip that I have on a pistol.
Jeanne, what would you say, what were your thoughts, or did you have any thoughts on lasers on guns? Did you have any opinion about it?
I never used lasers. I never thought it made that big of a difference, but obviously with me it did.
And John, what do you think?
You know, I'm an older guy. I've never done any legitimate training with lasers. You know, I just haven't. It's always been iron sights. And as an instructor, I don't want to say I was closed-minded to it, but I never really considered it an integral part of a training program. Today kind of changed my mind about some things because I saw some really relevant applications, especially for law enforcement, especially when we were doing the target where you had partial visibility through the cover.
Right.
That's an excellent application for law enforcement. So I'm kind of reevaluating my thinking on it.
So I kind of asked this question before, but who do you think this would be good for? You mentioned law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Who else could the lasers on a gun, could that be helpful?
Novice shooters. I think the proof was in the pudding when Jeanne, first time she came through, 2 hands on the gun, no laser, 1 hit on target, and then she turned around with the laser and got 6 hits on target, moving. To me, as an instructor, that's kind of the proof that this can really help some of those intermediate shooters in a dynamic situation like that.
What do you think, are there any, and you can be honest about this, as you guys went through this, what downsides could you think of that there would be on having a laser on a gun? Would there be some negatives, some cons?
Honestly, none that I can think of.
The only downside I see to it is that I wouldn't want people to become over-reliant on the laser to the extent that they start to disregard traditional marksmanship with the iron sight.
Absolutely, and that's something that even most of the laser companies, especially Crimson Trace, has emphasized is your iron sights are still your primary sighting system.
That's right.
You should still practice with that. What would you tell your friends, your family and friends, if they ask about putting a laser on a gun?
Well, that's a good question because I've always, and my students ask quite a bit about lasers, get lots of questions about lasers. And I've always said, I'll be brutally honest here, I've always said, if it came down between having a light source on your weapon or a laser, I would go with the light all the time. But now, I'm kind of rethinking that in that if there's an integrated system that has a light and a laser, that might be the best of all worlds.
You don't have to choose.
That's right, that's right.
Now, Jeanne, if you work at a gun range, I imagine that you have a lot of female friends, girlfriends, ask you about gun stuff. Do you get questions about that?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
If they ask you about what should I get on a gun, how can I help, what would you tell your friends?
Now I would definitely say the laser because I think that they would be more comfortable at what they're shooting at, that they know what the laser's on, they're gonna shoot.
Yeah. Now, Doug, you're a younger guy. You have, young guy friends who are fast and tough and have good eyesight and all this stuff. And they'll say, lasers are great for new shooters. Lasers are great for older eyes. But, even you saw some stuff today. What would you tell your friends?
I saw a huge improvement in accuracy whenever I used the laser. I would definitely tell them about this experience that I had and let them know that lasers are not just for novice shooters or older eyes.
Which drill did you find most interesting, Jeanne, or
on the
difference?
move?
On the move, moving?
Yeah, because I've never done that before. And with the laser, I didn't even look at my sight when I was before the laser because I was thinking I was really in a, hurry trying to get this done. I was in that kind of scenario with somebody I was trying to shoot, so I never even thought about looking at my sight. I just aimed the gun to my target. And then with the laser, it was obvious it was there for me.
Yeah. What about you, Doug? One particular scenario stood out?
I really like the barricade one. Kind of confused me when you told me to keep my head and my upper body behind the target. Then I realized I saw the little gap in there, and I really like that one a lot.
John, what are your thoughts? Was there any one that really stood out to you?
Oh, yeah, shooting and moving, without a doubt. Just because the tactical courses that I've run where you have to shoot and move off the line, move laterally, my ratios of hits have not always been stellar, and I could see a vast improvement when I had the laser as an additional tool.
Now, one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now in the gun world is concealed carry. And those types of guns are the ones that seem to be selling, those smaller handguns.
That's right.
We started out using a really small handgun. What did you notice versus shooting it without the laser versus the laser using that small gun that generally are harder to shoot?
Well, I'd say for sure the laser is a force multiplier on a small 380 like the Bodyguard, or even like a SIG P938 or 238, something like that. So no, I'd say it vastly improves both the reach and the utility of the gun.
Final thoughts, what do you think?
I think lasers are great. This whole thing really changed my mind about them. I'm thinking I'm probably going to pick a few up for all of my handguns.
I think that now when I get questions in my classes, when my students ask me about lasers, I'm going to have a different perspective on them. And I think that I'm definitely going to be able to give them some better information than I have in the past. And I have some very specific things now. And kudos to you guys for coming up with those scenarios, because they're all very applicable to real life situations. And I think that my students will get some real benefit out of even me just having done this. So I'm happy about that.
Great. Jeanne, what do you think going forward?
I'll be able to go tell all my girlfriends that aren't familiar with guns and that want to come take the concealed carry class or the first time shooter class that definitely the laser is the way to go.